أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة ودرجة العالية الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه. أعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة وأرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. أما بعد، قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم القرآن الكريم في سورة الحجرات: يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. صدق الله العلي العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, this well-known verse from Surah Al-Hujurat, known as the verse of Ta'aruf, carries an important message for us for all times, particularly the period that we are going through. In Surah Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives guidance on safeguarding the Muslim community against a range of social evils. And then this verse comes up. The aim is for us to be reformed of the evil which causes universal disruption across the earth. The evil that is presented by prejudice. Prejudices due to race, color, ethnicity, language, nationality, or otherwise. These prejudices have across history, they have caused us to disregard humanitarian bonds. We tend to draw small circles around ourselves and feel one with those that we define to be inside, our people. And we regard those who fall outside as others. Boundaries of separation, they are invariably based on accidents of birth or growth or living in particular tribes, races, regions, colors, languages. And the result is discrimination. First, the tendency to show more caring, more concern, more selective love for our people. And then there is the gradual distancing from those considered others. And then come the worst forms of hatred, enmity, contempt, oppression, and tyranny against the others. This has been the basis for many wars, for occupation, for colonization, and even slavery, and ultimately genocide. This phenomenal verse of ta'aruf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hujurat directs us away from this huge evil, this error of human discrimination. In the verse that I recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it clear. All of mankind is being addressed. O humans, we created you all from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes, so you may know one another. And then the verse moves on. Verily, the noblest of you in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most God conscious of you. Surely Allah is all knowing, all aware. Some cardinal truths are brought to our attention by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first one, the origin of all humanity, all of us, every living being on this earth and those who have passed away, the origin of all humanity is the same. All races around the globe have sprung from the initial race and the union of one man and one woman, Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve. We all have been created by the one God, our creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second aspect is, it is natural and part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan that the initial human race spread across the planet through different tribes and nations. On different regions of earth, this spread was into different races, different colors, features, language, cultures, ways of living. But the driving objective from our creator to his creation is ta'aruf. Truly getting to know the other, understanding, collaborating with the different groups of humans. This is our creator's purpose, one of the key elements there. As we are created in the diversity of mankind by the wise plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And lastly, the only basis for distinction amongst mankind is that of moral excellence, that of consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the principles of living which he has shown, as best exemplified, of course, by our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The key reminder for me and all of us brothers and sisters is that superiority, that excellence that may exist is in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not in the arbitrary assessment of mankind. The distinction is God consciousness, piety, righteousness, taqwa, the level of which is ultimately determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. And these cardinal truths, they were emphasized regularly by our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, on the conquest of Mecca, he addressed the Sahaba after the tawaf was done. He said, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who removed from you the blemish of ignorance and arrogance, who removed from you jahiliyyah. O people, he said, men are divided into two classes. One, the pious and the righteous who are honorable in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once again. And the other group are the sinful and vicious ones who are contemptible, again, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he went on and said, whereas all mankind are children of Adam, and Adam was created from clay by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's also remember on the critical farewell pilgrimage in the days of Tashriq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on his guidance, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam re-emphasized this. O people, be aware, he said. He warned the gathering there. Your God is one. No Arab has superiority over a non-Arab. No non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. No white has any superiority over a black one. No black has any superiority over a white one. No distinction, he said. And then he said, the most honorable among you in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one who is most pious and righteous. So the key again is that reminder. Identical origins for all of mankind, no superiority or distinction between mankind, except for moral excellence, consciousness of Allah. And again, the criterion is determined ultimately in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I bring up this verse of ta'aruf because this is regularly applied in the establishment of ties and better understanding with people of other faiths. I've been privileged to use this on that basis for decades in the interfaith work that I've been privileged to do around the globe. But today, I want to educate and remind myself of the strength, the wisdom, the guidance in this verse as applied to us Muslims as we engage Muslims of different backgrounds and different parts of the world. This was emphasized for me and a group of us, my wife and I, as we undertook a wonderful service-oriented tour of the Balkans region of Southeast Europe over the past 2 weeks. The formerly Kingdom of Yugoslavia, born after World War I from the remnants of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In 1946, it became a socialist federation. And then, over the course of the following decades, Yugoslavia was broken up after the Yugoslav wars based on cultural, religious divisions between various ethnic groups. And the disintegration led to 5 successor states: Macedonia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia. And the historical impact for this region has been from the Greeks, the Ottomans, and the Soviet communists. Ruled with an iron hand by Marshal Tito under communism, religious persecution in this region was rampant, especially for our Muslim communities. After Tito's death, Yugoslavia fell apart in 1980, and independence movements abounded within the various republics, leading to the Yugoslav wars. And over time, we now have independent countries in Southeast Asia, Southeast Europe, the Balkans. The Muslim presence, and I want to emphasize, in the Balkans dates back to the 10th century. The Ottoman conquest brought strong presence of Islam to the Balkan Peninsula. There was coexistence at that time of Islam, Orthodox and Catholic Christianity, and Judaism too. And the carving up of the new states, it ended the Ottoman presence and overwhelmingly impacted the Muslim communities. Various forms of discrimination on Muslims led to massive immigration, especially to Turkey. Other faiths, particularly Islam included, all faiths, they were suppressed under communism. Muslims had a difficult time adopting their identity, living their Muslim life, following the fundamental precepts in public life. And there were constant pressures of people snooping around and looking for what options you were taking on the religious side, and you were persecuted. And persecuted hard, to the extent that your families were disrupted, lives interrupted, injuries, death, torture. Now what we see is Islam is re-emerging after the Cold War ended, and through the Balkans, new Islamic schools are opening, new social, cultural, and economic associations are being established. 8 to 10 million Muslims in the Balkans are now there. They are ethnically and linguistically spread across different communities, main ones being Albanian, the Slavs, the Turks, and the Roma. And there are majority Muslims in states like Albania and Bosnia. Why do I speak about this historical background, brothers and sisters? Because that region gives us a living experience of the diverse global world of Islam and Muslims. In the 10 days that we traveled through 6 countries across the Balkan Peninsula, we came across the rich cultural heritage and the historic origins and the inspiring communities of Muslims that are living there and, inshallah, thriving. We spent time in Macedonia, the capital Skopje, went through Vodno, the Matka Valley, Tetovo, Ohrid, and Gostivar there. We moved to Kosovo, Pristina and Prizren, the historical capital, many holy sites for all the faiths. Albania, including Elbasan, Berat, Tirana, and Shkodër. Montenegro was the next country, visiting Bodva and Kotor. Then we went to Croatia, Dubrovnik, the pearl of the Adriatic as it is known, recently featured on the Game of Thrones serials, and one of the most picturesque cities around. Then there is Bosnia and Herzegovina with Trebinje, Mostar, Sarajevo. I bring all this up, brothers and sisters, because we came across amazing experiences with local Muslims and activists serving the community. We saw incredible regions of Islamic heritage, historic mosques, incredible natural beauty, wonderful rivers, landscapes that are literally out of this earth. There are moments and sections there where you feel if there is paradise, it has to be here. And the amazing journey through Muslim history, heritage, and culture as we came across Ottoman fortresses, mosques with gardens and shaded outdoor seating, masajid having open fountains with fresh flowing water for visitors. Just incredible beauty around. Delicious food with fresh cheeses, vegetables, fruits, and olives. Delectable meats, arrays of desserts, ice cream, and local drinks. We spoke to so many wonderful Muslims and came back transformed. And there are some key messages I want to share. The first one is about keeping our minds and hearts open. We tended to look around and see, this was a Muslim country and people don't seem to be practicing. Look at how they dress and look at how the masajid are beautiful, but maybe they're not all attended. And then suddenly you're faced with the reality of what is happening. In one of the mosques, as we were leaving, my wife and I noticed a European-looking couple. They obviously were not Muslim, so we approached them and explained to them what the mosque was about and what was the seriousness of worship that we pursue. And we found out that that gentleman was a judge from Romania. His wife was a lawyer. He invites us to visit them because he's focused on civil rights and advocacy for migrants from all over the world, especially Muslim migrants who are facing difficult times. Inshallah, we'll follow up on that. In the wonderful village of Gostivar, we came across a family who treated us to an amazing breakfast with personal service. We thought 3 or 4 people walking around and serving us. They were actually what helpers. Turned out to be their children of the owners of the house, because they wanted to serve guests personally. And the beauty was amazing. Their house was on the outskirts. Behind them were the wonderful mountains. And they said the cheeses, the fruits that they're serving, they were picked up when they were trekking across those mountains on a daily basis. And the key, they said, when we approached them about what keeps you going, they said, family is important to us. They keep the sons and daughters and other relatives together, working together, keeping their bonds together and serving together. There was a Muslim businessman who hosted us for dinner, and he had a thriving business, and his children were very well educated in different areas, including engineering and business, and they had plans for businesses, but they were all sticking together. He said, for us, business is important, but family is together. We will expand the business, but we will all be together. And they wanted us to, they were appealing, keep your children, your relatives together. And then there's so many anecdotes to be shared, the inspiring stories over coffee by the flowing river Vardar. 2 wonderful brothers, one of whom I just found out he was visiting, and makes me emotional because I see him here. I don't want to connect my eyes because I think I'll lose it. The stories we heard about the two brothers when we said, what keeps you on the path of Islam? What keeps you active? And what they were referring to is how they were brought up by their mother. Stories such as she would check the receipts of the grocery bill when her son was given money to go and bring for any extra change that was given by mistake. And he would have to immediately go back and return that money and come back. She was a seamstress, tailoring clothes, and she was known because she used the minimum amount of cloth for dresses, and she returned the extra cloth right away. People wouldn't believe that their dresses could be stitched with just that little amount of cloth. Those were the Islamic values that they learned. About their grandfather who made time to visit the family at dawn, casually checking if the kids were up for Fajr. Instilling discipline and cleanliness, one of the brothers indicated he was told to make up his bed and broom the room, and he was told how to overlappingly sweep so that no little bits of dirt were left in there